Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's March 22nd, 2020, and I thought I'd share just some of my thoughts about things that I'm becoming aware of and some of my concerns as well. I'm not going to give you any more stats on things today in this video. If you want to hear more stats, more publications and epidemiologists looking at potential trends, I can make another video on that with the infectious disease process that we're dealing with here globally. But I wanted to share some of the concerns that I've had. One of our regular contributors here on the channel is Tim from Tim's Homestead. Thumbs up, Tim. I hope your healing is progressing as well as possible. Tim is a man who's a recent homesteader, been working on his site, and is in his early 60s and has had some chronic respiratory problems in the past. And he's not in one of the hot spots, thank goodness, in our country at this time. And but all of a sudden he needed to have an emergency surgery. And the surgery turned out just fine, but the hospital they initially headed to transferred him to another hospital so that the surgery could be done. Everything did work out well, but it was very timely because this surgical procedure absolutely needed to be done. This was one of those unexpected emergency situations that happens all the time. Emergency and critical care medicine take up so many hospital beds throughout our country, throughout the world. It occupies between 70 and 80% of hospital beds that are available. And that's one of the ways that hospitals actually make their money. And now many of the hospitals are really preparing after seeing New York City and Washington, especially New York City, what's going on there, trying to reduce the amount of scheduled or non-necessary procedures that are being done, gearing up, trying to get as many ventilators and all ready as possible. And I did hear from the Oswego Hospital, so I had contacted Andrew Cuomo, our governor of New York State, and our local Oswego County Health Department, and let them know that I had 3 ventilators available. And hopefully they'll be picking up the 3 for the Oswego Hospital tomorrow. So I feel real good that I'm able to contribute in that way. And that's one of the things I want to talk about, things that we can do, all of us can do to potentially help to calm the nerves of people, settle things down a bit, because we're just headed into the beginning of the storm. Yes, we have some high winds, it's been pouring and all, the waves are up, but they're going to get worse. And I don't want to make people more fearful. That's, if anything, this video, what I'd like to do is reduce anxiety by all of us thinking about what sort of things we can do. Now, very few people are going to have ventilators like I have, but there are many things. People all around the world are making surgical masks, making surgical scrubs, trying to make gowns and all. The president hasn't put forth the mandate to get factories to take over and all. Elon Musk contacted Medtronic. They're like the lead developer of the ventilators and all. I know that GM and Ford have both talked about having interest in all. Unfortunately, we need a leader who's going to say, please do this. You do these things. These are the materials we need. What do you need to do this and make that happen? And if we don't get to that point where we're getting all of those personal protective devices and the equipment that we need for the hospitals, it's going to be a challenge. So it's up to us. All of us have got to do things, and there are a multitude of ways that I think we can do things. The first thing is trying to calm ourselves and calm our neighbors, our family members, and all. There will be food in the grocery stores. They'll be there for months as long as we don't strip them bare. The time to make big stores has passed. We need to make sure that there's toilet paper available for people, there's fresh fruits and vegetables available for people, and certainly canned goods as well. So grabbing bunches of them and trying to fend for ourselves, this isn't the time to do that. And if you have friends or family, talk to them. See if you can get them to think of this as being a community process, that we have to work together as communities. It's hard, there's been studies saying when we think about our social groups and the number of friends we have, the maximum number is 150. Well, we need to think about all of these cultural groups and social groups all working together and working as a network, as if we were going to war. One of the only good thing that came out of 9/11 was there was this sense of unity. We were working together, and I think that was really an amazing thing. So what are some things that I can think of? And please, if you're thinking of things, please make a list down in the comments below, because I think it potentially can help. I think one of the things we can do is to contact the people, our friends, expand out to our neighborhoods and see what elderly people who are at the higher risk, what sort of things we can do and get them the supplies that they need and get them to their door so they can open up their door, bring those materials in. We try to disinfect them in case there's something on the outside of the packages or the bags. Really be very careful. Those people are going to need fresh fruit and vegetables. They're going to need, foods that are easy to care for. And we don't want to be invading their safe space because we don't want to give them the infectious agent, because we don't know. All of us could be carrying this infectious agent without knowing it. So that's one thing I think about. And the other thing is, we need to, probably many of us know nurses and doctors and hospital staff members, assistants, all the people who are working in the hospital. They're running their tails off. I can tell you that, I did critical care medicine and I did emergency medicine for a while. And those things were just part of my blood. I love critical care medicine. But there were some procedures I did in internal medicine where I'd have to completely gown up with masks and not just the standard surgical equipment, but excessive protective device. When I'd be operating equipment going in rather invasive through small ports, thoracic thoracoscopy and laparoscopy, going through small ports either into the abdomen or into the chest. And you're looking at this big screen and you're completely covered up, and it really required 100% of my attention to make sure I was doing everything precisely and not doing something accidentally. And what I see now is when we have multiple patients that really require our 100% attention, well, there's nurses and doctors having to multitask. And when you're multitasking in critical care situations, there's mistakes that will happen. And it's not the fault of the nurse or the doctor during that time, although people could blame them. It's exhausting being completely gowned up like this. Your whole orientation is completely messed up because you're looking at the world through this very small area. The chances are you didn't have the cup of coffee that you would like to have, because that would mean that you'd lose your gowning to be able to use the restroom. You didn't drink as much as you should have drank. You're becoming dehydrated as well. These nurses and doctors and other hospital staff members that are doing their things are our heroes. They're absolute heroes, and I'm just so proud of them. And I think we need to do all we can do. There was a nurse, I think she was in the United Kingdom. She brought up her cell phone and did a quick little video. She had just come off a 48-hour shift, and she was in tears because she came off the 48-hour shift and she just wanted to get some fresh fruit or vegetables in the grocery store, and the grocery store lines were all wiped out. It'd be wonderful if people identified these nurses and all and made sure that they shopped for them and had those materials ready for them, because they're going to go back to the front lines and do the work that's going to save our loved ones' lives. That is so, so important. The other thing is we need to be more empathetic and be more compassionate and more understanding of the circumstances. We're all going through challenging times, and there is no enemy. Our neighbor isn't our enemy. This xenophobia has got to stop. The president has indicated that where this infectious disease came from, and unfortunately, some of the president's base respond inappropriately. The lines outside of gun shops, the online orders for ammunition and all. I believe this is because of fear. People are so afraid that not only are they hoarding, but they're arming themselves. And this, we shouldn't be fighting amongst each other. We should be trying to help each other. We should be trying to do our best to be empathetic and try to calm people's nerves when they get so stressed. And I realize that's just crazy. But if we recognize a friend or a loved one is getting somewhat paranoid, or not sleeping and becoming frustrated, or show signs of racism or xenophobia, then it would be best. It's especially if they have firearms and all. We just need to try and calm the situation before we have some sort of outburst whatsoever, where people feel that they have to fend for themselves. This isn't that time. There will be food for the grocery stores. Our truck drivers, they're going to be our heroes. We need to take care of them. Without the truck drivers, we won't get the fuel to the fuel stations that power so many pieces of equipment that will provide backup power for the generators for the hospitals in case the power loses, the hospital loses power. You sure as hell can't have the hospitals losing power when they have people on ventilators. Those backup batteries only last a very limited time. The backup batteries for the IV pumps only last a short period of time. So we need to be mindful and make sure that we're meeting the needs, all the resources of our medical care facilities. We need to do all we can to do that. So think about things that you think we can do. So many of us in America don't have a good, healthy lifestyle. And as a result, obesity, heart disease, diabetes, these are really fairly common ailments, and hypertension in many of the truck drivers, because they're in their vehicles for so many hours a day. They aren't getting the exercise they need. They get quick, fast food in between times and all. And this is a time that we need the truck drivers to be able to get from point A to point B, to be well rested and get their resources as well, because they're going to be the individuals who are going to be meeting the needs of all the various supplies, whether it's transporting medical equipment to different locations, medical supplies, whether it's transporting food from storehouses and warehouses to the various shopping centers. That's important as well. I know in New York State, our Governor Cuomo has put out a request for any therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, people who have worked with supportive therapies, helping people deal with these times. If you have help in that area, please volunteer to help out with different communities. With the clergy, that would be a good thing as well. Now is the time for all of us to prepare ourselves, to realize this. The more that we can create bonds of support, people won't feel so alone and so afraid. things are going to get worse as far as I really feel that in New York State, we're probably going to exceed the hospital's capacities and all. And we got to make sure we take care of our nurses and doctors, because there could be a really high burnout rate. These people are some of the most dedicated people in the world. They got into this because of their love for it. You don't get rich doing the work, doing critical care and emergency medicine. But you get a different sense of personal fulfillment as a result of caring for people in their time of need. The rest of us, we need to make sure that we try to practice this social distancing. If you have any signs, and if there's a thought, geez, maybe I have it, please go home, stay home, contact friends. If you've got to do things socially, do FaceTime, do something, and I don't know all the different social media means, but do something like that to meet your social needs and all. We want to decrease the spread of this infectious agent from person to person as much as possible. Be very mindful of the possibility of you having this disease and not being aware of it, just thinking it's a little respiratory thing. So those are things that I've been thinking about. There are a whole variety of things have been running through my head, and I don't want to babble on about this too much more. But this is a time for all of us to legitimately come together. No more xenophobic statements. Nothing like that. We're putting people's lives in danger. No more hoarding. Do as much as we can to help out those people who are saving our country. And those, our nurses and doctors are some of the most precious, valuable people on this planet right now. Those people restocking and working in the grocery stores, very precious people. We need to be thankful. Those people providing food for our children that are opening up the kitchens at the schools and providing funds. Those people who are putting together beds for the emergency systems. The people who are making masks and making scrubs, all of those things out of materials that they have. This is a time for us. We can't depend on our federal government to come through. We need to come through and do the best we can. So I hope you take this in a positive light. If you have suggestions for each other and all, please put them in the comments below. If there's some significant suggestions and all, and I'm sure there's lots of things that I haven't thought about. And this is about building community, connecting social groups, and I'm not talking about social media, making it so that we can all see light at the end of the tunnel, that we're not alone, that the sky isn't falling. Yes, we're going to go through a big storm. It's not going to be pleasant. But it's great when we work together and we know that we're gonna survive this thing, and ultimately things will turn out okay. We need to trust in each other. We need to have empathy, compassion, and be willing to give. So, if you think this video would be of value to anybody, any of your friends or what, please share it with them. I want to do all I can from this perspective. If you got ideas about videos, from knowing the homestead here and the things we do growing food and all, I'll be making more videos about beginning growing food and all. But if you have any suggestions, please let me know. Thanks so much for watching, folks. Hang in there. We're going to get through this. Bye-bye now.